Welcome back. Today we're diving into an awesome session by Dinesh Asanka. We're going to tackle the complex and sometimes kind of messy mechanics of turning raw web noise into actual actionable insights. Basically, we'll look at exactly how we take unorganized data and use it to build predictive models of what users are actually doing online. Let's get right into it.
Imagine looking at user behavior before anyone makes sense of it. It's essentially this massive, chaotic web of disconnected interactions, raw logs, and completely random data points just floating around in the digital ether. When someone navigates a platform, it generates this huge cloud of unorganized noise. And the real challenge of web analytics, it's not just collecting all that data. It's connecting those disjointed little dots to reveal the hidden architecture of human intent underneath it all.
So, if we're going to be data detectives, our very first clues are weblogs. Think of these as the raw server files that automatically record absolutely every basic interaction and digital footprint a visitor leaves behind. Every single server request for an image, a script, or an HTML document, it's documented right here. It is literally the most fundamental, atomic level of user interaction data we can get our hands on.
But here's the thing. Isolated server requests don't really give us much context until we map out their sequence. When we string those individual weblogs together in chronological order, we get what's called clickstream data. This is the continuous sequence of clicks and pathways a user takes. It acts as the critical connective tissue, moving us from just seeing isolated page loads to tracking the actual multi-step journey a user takes across a whole website.
Moving on to Section 1, let's look at some core analytics concepts. Okay, so to make sense of the chaos, we first have to anchor all this raw data to distinct, individual users. This is absolutely the structural foundation for any behavioral tracking model. Before we can analyze a specific sequence of clicks, we really have to isolate the actor making them. Identifying distinct users is the magic key that ultimately lets analysts measure audience retention, map out cross-device journeys, and even track user loyalty over long periods of time. Once we have that user isolated, we organize their interactions into temporary, bounded time frames. We call these sessions. Grouping a sequence of interactions like this allows us to compartmentalize behavior into distinct visits. Basically, it isolates exactly what a user was trying to achieve during one continuous, uninterrupted block of activity, right up until they either leave the site or simply time out. Now, within the boundaries of that session, page views become a really critical metric. A page view is simply an instance of a single page being loaded or reloaded by a user. But it's not just about noting what was loaded. Analyzing high page view counts, rapid navigation loops, or frequent reloads acts as a huge, direct indicator of user intent. It can highlight areas where users are deeply engaged, or alternatively, pinpoint exact spots of friction where they might be getting frustrated. To capture the really specific, precise actions happening on those pages, we track events. Events are trackable actions taken by a user. Think clicking a buy button or playing a video. This is the layer that gives us the deep, nuanced context of user engagement. Moving way beyond just passive browsing, tracking these events translates a user's visit into highly specific, measurable intent.
All right, Section 2, Tracking the Customer Journey.
If we apply Asanka's methodology and string these core concepts together chronologically, we build out a complete customer journey. Think about it like a timeline. At minute 1, a user arrives and the session starts. By minute 3, we're seeing multiple page views that start signaling their intent. And then, at minute 5, boom, an event is triggered, like a crucial click. By mapping it out this way, those raw, messy server logs suddenly coalesce into a really definitive, clear narrative of human behavior.
And when we step back and analyze massive sample data sets of these mapped-out clickstreams and weblogs, something amazing happens. Distinct behavioral patterns finally start emerging from all that noise. We're scaling up from looking at just one single user to evaluating thousands of them simultaneously. We start identifying predictive models, like maybe a specific clickstream pathway that consistently leads to high-value event triggers, or a localized page view loop that tells us exactly where users are dropping off. So this brings us to a huge question, really the core of Dinesh Asanka's session. How do businesses actually use these behavioral analytics for decision-making? Like, why does engineering this whole data pipeline fundamentally matter in the real world?
Well, organizations rely on this translated behavioral analytics data to basically eliminate guesswork from their strategy. They use it to identify user behavior patterns, interpret interaction data, and ultimately drive highly strategic business decisions. For example, if the aggregated clickstream shows that users are consistently abandoning a process at a very specific checkout stage, the business knows exactly where they need to allocate their resources to fix the user experience. It's a total game changer.
Ultimately, every single click, every page view, and every event is a clue. It's like a giant digital puzzle. So the next time you navigate a site, maybe take a second to consider your own clickstream. What story is your digital footprint telling businesses today?